a man that would risk his neck for his brother, man.
Shaft. Very nice. You always hit it. I'm proud of you.
Been listening to that song for a lot of years.
I said at the top of the show, and there was journalistic malpractice going on the last 24 hours in the news cycle. The mainstream media, I got up this morning and I recorded CBS and ABC and I watched the Today Show. And then I went back and I looked at the top of I looked at the top 5 minutes of news for all three of them. To CBS's credit, they're the only ones who mentioned the Susan Rice story, but it wasn't. They went to Major Garrett at the White House, and Major Garrett is reporting on Jared Kushner going the big role he plays in the administration. And in the middle of the story, it was kind of jarring. They shifted to the Susan Rice commentary, like just briefly, and then they kind of left it alone. I didn't see it at all on the Today Show, and I didn't see it mentioned at all on ABC this morning. Now, when I went to their websites and searched for Susan Rice, I did find that ABC did do a story on it yesterday evening, but they didn't air it this morning on George Stephanopoulos. They did a story April 3rd at 5:56 p.m. All they're doing in it is defending Susan Rice. Listen to what Don Lemon said last night. My head almost spun off my shoulders. Listen to this dude, cut number 12, CNN's Don Lemon, with everything we know about Susan Rice. Listen.
On this program tonight, we will not insult your intelligence by pretending otherwise, nor will we aid and abet the people who are trying to misinform you, the American people, by creating a diversion. Not going to do it.
They don't even apologize for carrying the water on the Democrats for this.
Yeah, and you sounded like you were surprised. I told you this morning I was watching MSNBC, the Andrea Mitchell show.
Right.
And they had an exclusive interview with her.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. And she was saying, well, during the course of us doing our duties and trying to, get intelligence to stop terrorist attacks, these names may have come across our intelligence services, but I didn't have anything to do with unmasking them. It was a surprise, and she did the usual deflections.
Yeah, but
Russia.
see, that's not the case, because I think it's really interesting how Susan Rice has handled this so far. Listen to what she said back on March 22nd. Now, this is the edited version of this, but listen to what she said back on March 22nd when the story first came out that Nunes had these high-level source telling him that the names of Trump transition team members were unmasked. Listen.
I know nothing about this. I was surprised to see reports from Chairman Nunes on that count today. I really don't know to what Chairman Nunes was referring, but he said that whatever he was referring to was a legal, lawful surveillance, and that it was potentially incidental collection.
Boom. So you hear what she said there? I know nothing about this, but Nunes said that this was legal, not illegal, and apparently incidental. And what was the first thing she came out and said after the story blew up? It's her name that was on there requesting all of these unmaskings. She knew exactly what they were talking about. Now she's trying to hide behind the fact that whatever she did wasn't illegal. So how, in one statement, she claimed not to know anything about it and then admitted that whatever was done was not illegal. This is amazing to me that NBC and CBS and ABC do not see this as a story, or CNN.
Well, it looks like somebody will probably be lawyering up real soon, because I've heard one of the House committee chairman asked that she should be called to testify on this. I don't know where this story is going. We have where these people were unmasked. They're trying to make the connection that Russia somehow was involved with the campaign. You've got Nunes going over to the White House, and we talked about this earlier.
Right.
And it's kind of sounding like the White House gave him the information so they could justify, the president saying that he was surveilled.
But now we know that's not the case, right? No, now we know that's not the case because the New York Times report was wrong. The two officials they named from the Trump administration are not the ones that gave him the information. One of them gave him access to the White House grounds, and he went to that private room in that building and met with his source where he could look at the information. So all this stuff has come out to clearing Nunes of any wrongdoing, clearing the White House, in my opinion, of planting the story. They've seen this stuff. They saw it a while back. They've known about this for a while. This has to be exactly what Donald Trump was talking about. And for ABC and NBC, even when they do cover it, to claim that it still doesn't back up the president's claims about wiretapping, the American people are going to stop believing that lie after a while. There's too much evidence.
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence.
Listen to Judge Napolitano. This is what the judge said this morning on whether or not Susan Rice broke the law. He said it all gets down to what her intent was. Listen.
So, Judge, did she do anything illegal here?
It depends on what she did with the information that she unmasked. She is entitled to this. She, as the president's national security advisor, has the highest level of national security clearance. So if General Flynn is talking to the Russian ambassador and that conversation is recorded, is surveilled, because the government wants to know what the Russian ambassador is saying to whomever he's speaking, and she needs to know to whom the ambassador was speaking in order to understand the conversation, she can do that. Can she reveal the identity of the American for a purpose other than national security? Absolutely not. Can she ask for more Americans involved and then unmask them and say to her boss, by the way, guess what Trump and Manafort were talking about last night? You know what that's called? That's called espionage. That's called the failure to safeguard top secret information. The identity of Americans incidentally caught up in otherwise lawful surveillance is protected by the top secret protection, the highest level of classification of secrets that we have.
You know, and I follow this stuff pretty closely as you do.
Right.
I mean, it's getting to the point now where it's so into the weeds. You don't know what to believe, and it's almost like, do you really even care?
I do, and because I warned people when Trump made the tweet. And I said, maybe I wish he hadn't said Obama ordered it, but he clearly saw something that led him to the conclusion that people in the Obama administration were monitoring what was going on in Trump Tower with his transition team. And now we have all of the evidence that that's exact. There's no other way to look at it. Right. Whether you call it wiretapping or electronic surveillance, there was a FISA warrant for foreign intelligence where they were monitoring conversations and emails, and they unmasked the names of Americans that were unrelated to that investigation. There's no doubt that this happened. The question is, who's going to be held to task for it? And I'm sickened when I see people like Don Lemon and the people at these mainstream news organizations who so many people in this country depend on as their primary source for information, claiming that this is some sort of a diversion. Why is this a diversion? This is about the claims made by the president, and if they're true, somebody's getting charged with a felony. There's far more evidence that this happened than that the Russians somehow influenced the outcome of our election. You want to know what one of the lead stories was on the CBS Morning News today? They got an exclusive interview. I'm telling you, it's a big deal. They got an exclusive interview because they had pressing questions for this guest.
You think she'll run for public office again?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't think so. I think right now she's focused on her book. She's focused, thankfully, on her grandchildren.
Chelsea Clinton.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they spent 4 or 5 valuable broadcast minutes talking to Chelsea Clinton, who's only there because she's pushing a book. And they spent 30 seconds talking about the Susan Rice story in the middle of a story on whether or not it's proper for Jared Kushner to play the role he does in this administration.
Maybe it's one of these things where they're looking at what could have been. We wanted Hillary to become president. We'll still bring out Chelsea and let them, let her be around. Who knows?
Yeah. Of course, they did ask her because her opinion is so important. Chelsea, do you believe Russia prevented your mother from being president?
And what did she say?
Well, we don't have any final. The investigation is not final, but there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. What do you think are questions? Yeah. That's exactly what our answer is going to be. They need to leave that doubt lingering in the minds, because that's the only thing the left in this country has to hang its hat on, right? Yeah. The hope that somehow they can prove Donald Trump's election was illegitimate.
But the thing is, this stuff that we learned from Russia, or the hacking, was stuff that the Democratic Party definitely didn't want to get out. So they were actually, Russia did us a service by letting us know this information and knowing who and what we're voting for.
The only thing that WikiLeaks handed out was embarrassing information, right?
Exactly.
But nothing that's going to stop a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat from voting for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, the argument just doesn't.
Unless they're a Sanders fan, maybe. 314-969-9797. I'll get to your calls here in a minute. Chris continues with us. We're going to talk more about the local election scene. Big deal going on in the city today, of course, and Proposition P in the county, school board races, all that stuff coming up right here on the Marc Cox Show.
This is the Marc Cox Show. Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling. Weather with Dave Murray.
Quiet day today. Dry day. Mix of clouds and sunshine. 69 for the high. Tonight, though, periods of rain and thunderstorms. 52. Wednesday, periods of rain and thunderstorms. Some could be strong to severe. 62 for the high. Dropping into the 50s Wednesday afternoon. And then just kind of a chilly to even cold weather pattern in here Wednesday night, Thursday, and Friday. I'm Fox 2 meteorologist Dave Murray for FM News Talk 97.1.
So is it time for you to go talk to Thomas Helbig? I had this conversation when we went to his Protecting Your Retirement Educational event last week, and I talked to some of the people who showed up, right? And, you know, a lot of them, when I asked the question,